What's up, everybody? Well, I got another gameplay video for you guys today, and today we are going to check out Gollum, or Lord of the Rings Gollum, to be precise, on my secondary capture computer here. But before we hop into the game, let us first go ahead and go through the specs here. And the specs of this thing are a 5800X 3D. Then we got ourselves a RTX 3090. It's a Founders Edition. We got an AsRock Taichi X570 motherboard, 32 gigs of 3600 megahertz DDR4 RAM, CL14 and dual rank. Then we got a 1000 watt, or wait, we got a 360 millimeter EK all-in-one basic cooling the CPU. Then we have a 1000 watt Corsair power supply powering the whole thing. It's an RM1000 gold rated. It's kind of old, but it's getting the job done. Then we've got our ultra wide monitor here. It's an Alienware. I can't remember the model number. It's just a bunch of fricking numbers like 34DU something. I can't remember, but I think I have it in the description anyway. But anyway, it is 3440 by 1440, 120 hertz. It's IPS, has G-Sync. There's no HDR, no FreeSync or anything like that. So it is kind of getting on the older side now, but it's still a great monitor. But gonna upgrade it soon. But anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go hop into the game.
Well, starting off on our secondary computer here, we're going to try to just literally max the thing out. So we're going to play on our 3440 by 1440p resolution here. Everything's going to be on Epic. We're going to turn ray tracing on. We got to turn that hair simulation on too. We don't have any DLSS on, and we do have the low latency on. So now, why don't we go hop on in the game and see how it does? Well, here we go. And ouch. My secondary computer's pride. At least with ray tracing anyway, you cannot get 60 FPS. Native anyway. And it also seems to come with a shit ton of stutter.
We hate this light. Hates it.
Yeah, me hates ray tracing, at least natively. This is terrible. You would think a 3090 would do better than this. It's not that old of a GPU yet. And this is only ultra wide. We're not even trying 4K. Oh well, I think we're gonna have to use a little DLSS, I think. But I'm also curious what it gets without any ray tracing. So I think after this we'll just turn ray tracing off and just see kind of what it gets. Just turning that off, it'll probably get well over 60 and you'll probably be fine. And then we'll try ray tracing and DLSS, or might do that backwards. We'll see what I've decided after we get done with this clip, anyway. Half the time I never know what I'm going to do while I'm actually making the video, you know? Using 11 gigs of VRAM, though. So if I still had my 3080, this would not work, because mine was only a 10 gig model. So a lot of people are definitely right about that one. That one was short-lived due to VRAM. Shame, too, because the core was actually quite powerful. Anyway, next. So now I think what we're going to try is turning off ray tracing and just going with that. No DLSS or nothing. And just see how it does with that. And then we'll go and try maybe some ray tracing and DLSS, and then DLSS without ray tracing and all that good stuff. So, let's get into the game now. Well, alright, here's the game maxed out minus ray tracing now. On a 3090, ultra wide here. We definitely got some stutter here and there. But we are staying above 60. As far as our normal FPS on our average are concerned. Our 1% lows say 0, but that's just been doing that for quite a few games now. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that one. I see it working for other people on YouTube, but it doesn't work for me. I guess more research is necessary. There's probably just some like other key I have to set up or something. Or set something else up besides just hitting benchmark and the Riva Statistics Lunar thing. Still though, it seems like once it loads everything, seems pretty smooth. So right around here is where it was Stutter City before, for a quick second, but it seems like everything's fine now. Might be one of those games where it stutters every now and again just to like load in stuff, but seems to generally be pretty smooth though. If you do not want to use DLSS, that is. And just max the game out and go. Now I should mention that my 5800X 3D is now also undervolted. with Performance Boost Overdrive 2. It's some program I found. Anyway, let's move on. So now let's go see how this game acts once we turn a little DLSS on. So we'll just start with ray tracing off and just do the game maxed out with some DLSS quality. And then we'll try ray tracing with the same after this. So let's go ahead. Now that we've pretty much gotten to the bottom here and shown that low latency is on, let's get into the game. Well, here we go. DLSS is on now, and wow, what a difference in frame rate. And I don't really notice a big dip in quality. But as you guys saw before, it's not really necessary unless you have a 144 hertz or something ultra wide. I know I've got a 120, but it would be kind of nice to just maybe set that up like this and just put VSync on and just have it hit 120 all the time, you know? Oh, there was one little dip. Like I said, the game does that every once in a while. Even on my main computer. And it did on the Steam Deck and on my Asus G15 Advantage as well. I think that's just DX12 dip. Well, alright, we're pretty much back at our little starting area, so now let's go move on to the next settings. Alright, now we're going to try the same thing, but with ray tracing on, and see what kind of FPS we get. Might be perfectly playable. And if it is, might just do that, you know? Because it's not like DLSS looks bad. Anyway, though, why don't we go ahead and hop back into the game now? Well, alright. Now we're going to play with a little ray tracing turned on with DLSS on quality. And definitely getting playable FPS, that's for sure. Yeah, so I haven't decided if I'm going to leave ray tracing on and just use DLSS or not or yet. I have to wait and see. Once I get to my settings, I always like to tinker and run around the game as I mess with shit, so that's generally what I do. Find out what works. And then just to make absolutely sure everything's sticking, I always leave the game and come back in. I've learned my lesson from old. Sometimes you change games, it looks like it's changing settings. The FPS might even change, but if you just close the game and reload everything, it might get a lot better. Or it might get even worse. You never know. That's why it's best to always just at least leave the game. You don't necessarily have to leave the whole game, like, to the desktop, but just go back to at least the main menu. That's what I've learned anyway. I even do that for DLSS and FSR now, even though I don't think it's very necessary. Just as a precaution. I don't want no funny business. Well, back we are here, so now let's go move on to my settings now. Well, alright guys, here's the settings I've decided to go with after some walking around and tinkering. I decided to go without the ray tracing and the DLSS. We're just going to go native here on this computer. But alright, why don't we go and hop in and see how it does. Well, alright, here's my settings now. And of course, if you wanted to turn ray tracing on, just turn on some DLSS with my settings, and bam, you'd probably be getting like 100-something FPS. But I just don't like relying on those crutches if I don't have to. And the ray tracing in this game didn't look impressive enough to really warrant using it. Though the reflections were at least pretty nice. You can kind of see that in the beginning of the game, even in the menu, where he's staring at himself in the water. Without ray tracing, you can't see his reflection in the water. I mean, you can, but it's just kind of murky, shadowy kind of reflection. So that's one of the pluses, I guess, but is it really worth giving up all those FPSs and having to go and use DLSS or FSR? I don't know. That'll be up to you guys. Now, I probably will use ray tracing on my main computer because that thing's just a beast, but I still don't think it can do it native. It would probably do the same 40, 50 FPS this one was doing. Well, 30 this one was doing, and 40. This one, 49, I'll probably do 40, 50 FPS, but that's still not playable. Not on a 4090 anyway. Anyway, on we move.
Well, alright guys, let's get ourselves a teeny bit of some camera recorded gameplay now with my settings. Man, I gotta dust this thing off. Once you put some, like, lights on this monitor, there's all sorts of dust and cat hair all over it. I don't know if the camera picks all that up. It's a pretty badass camera though, so it probably does. But I'm very excited to start actually playing this game for real. I'm a huge fanboy of anything Lord of the Rings. Well, except for that weird Amazon show. That was just a clusterfuck of terrible. At least in my opinion. If you like that, that's cool. I never like to say stuff like that to hurt people's feelings. It's just my opinion. And nobody has to like what I like. It's cooler that everybody has their own things they like anyway. If everybody liked the same thing, the world would be very boring. Just like if everything was perfect. Everybody always like, oh yeah, no quarreling, no nothing. But then honestly, that would be very boring too. Ooh, lightning even comes in here. Wonder if I can get struck by lightning. Probably not. I doubt they added something like that into the game. But yeah, the graphics aren't anything to really write home about. They're not awful, but they're nothing to write home about either. And the ray tracing didn't seem to do too much to make it an improvement either, other than kill your FPS. But if you turn on some DLSS and turn it on, you still get about a little more FPS than I even get now. So if you're okay with using DLSS, that's probably the way to play it. I just try to do my settings without the need of relying on that kind of technology. I still don't think a 3090 should have to rely on upscaling technology just to play games at ultra wide. I don't understand if it was trying to do 4K. Even a year or two ago it was struggling. Or not a year or two ago, however long I bought that thing ago. It was about a year ago. It was already struggling at 4K once I got that LG TV. So. Anyway though, I'd say that's plenty of camera gameplay. It's very smooth, has a tiny stutter every once in a blue moon, but nothing like normal games, so. Other than ray tracing sucking and taking a way too powerful of a GPU to work properly, the game seems to run pretty good. Just don't turn ray tracing on unless you're going to use DLSS. Then it seems to run just fine, at least on a 3090. Or anything equivalent to that. But anyway, let's go wrap the video on up now.
Well, alright guys, that's a wrap for Lord of the Rings Gollum on the secondary computer here. And as long as you're not trying to do ray tracing, it seems to do just fine. Now, if you want to use ray tracing, just use some DLSS and it seemed to be just dandy. But I don't usually like using that stuff if I can avoid it. So I generally don't use ray tracing very often. There's a couple games where I break that rule, but most of the time I do not. But other than that though, it seemed to run just fine. It wasn't a super stuttery mess. It did not like crash or do anything weird the whole time. And half the time I answered somebody's question, took like 10, 15 minutes to think of the right components for a guy's computer build. And it was just sitting up in the background for like 20 minutes, just sitting there. So if it was gonna crash, it probably would have crashed on me. But anyway though, that is all I got for you guys for this particular video. So let's go move on to the main computer next. But I hope you enjoyed this particular video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.